This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Next up, our main event. It's a steel cage match for the world title. It's Ultimate Warrior defending against Rick Rude. We mentioned earlier how Rick beat Warrior at WrestleMania 5 for the Intercontinental title. A few months later at SummerSlam 89, Warrior would win the belt back. So this is technically the rubber match 1 year later at SummerSlam 90, but not for the mid-card belt, for the big belt. And leading up to the match, as we said, Rick has cut his hair. We see all these great training vignettes with Rick and his manager, Bobby Heenan. You told us about shooting those in Tampa before. Believe it or not, this is Rick Rude's final pay-per-view match. His final record is 6-4-1. He's 0-2 at the Rumble. He's 2-0-1 at WrestleMania. He's 1-2 at SummerSlam and 3-0 at Survivor Series. Of course, we know he's going to wind up coming back in 97 after a successful run in WCW and briefly appearing in ECW. And we've done a whole show on Rude in the archives. Really a tremendous show. Go out of your way to check it out. You can get it ad-free over at adfreeshows.com. The match itself sees the Ultimate Warrior keep the WWF title, beating Rude in the cage in 10 minutes and 1 second. Meltzer would write, Warrior had the complete face paint back on and a different hairstyle once again to make him look nothing like Kerry Von Erich. No matter what anyone says, the company is obviously unhappy with how he's getting over when they make these weekly changes in his look and character. They both juiced within 3 minutes to get the cage gimmick over, but the match was really slow paced until the end as they had to pace themselves for the long match. Rude came off the top of the cage. What a spot that was in 1990, but didn't try to escape as Bobby Heenan went berserk. Rude came off near the top of the cage a second time, but Warrior punched him. Then Warrior tried to escape at 7 minutes. Heenan hits him with the cage door. The finish would see Warrior do the Superman comeback, 3 clotheslines, and go over the top for the win. 2.5 stars. As a little kid, man, I love this. I love the way Warrior was slinging the belt around over his head. And I even liked the idea that Bobby Heenan was furious that Rude didn't just finish the climb over, because this would have been the first time that somebody in Heenan's quote unquote family was world champ. And I guess that could have even been a tease that there was going to be some sort of split down the road between Heenan and Rick Rude. We didn't see that exactly. What'd you think of the match watching it back?
I thought that, look, as far as Warrior matches, it has to be in the top 5, and Rude always was able to get a lot out of Ultimate Warrior and be able to carry him to a decent match. And in this case, it was no different. It was a good match. It was a different style match for Warrior. And you believed that, hey, Rude is good adversary for the Ultimate Warrior. And I could believe that Rude could beat him. Right. So that to me is what made the match so good, and that you looked at it and you believed it and felt that it just wasn't somebody in there for Warrior to beat.
It's remarkable to think that this is really it for Rude here with the company. I mean, he is on a lot of the promotional materials for Survivor Series, but he winds up being replaced by Haku. Do you think that the big dispute ultimately just came down to, JR famously says it's all about cash or creative. Was he unhappy with his SummerSlam main event payoff? Was he not happy with the creative of not being put into one of those spots? What really is the root of his unhappiness that leads to him leaving? It's been rumored that it's all about the paycheck he got for this particular match.
I think it's a combination of both. I don't think that Rick liked being second fiddle and that's my words, not his, but from the standpoint of not being the top heel and having everything focused around him, Rick really wanted to be the guy. And also it comes down to money. And for Rick Rude, Rick kind of felt that, and I can't really argue this in a lot of ways, is that Rick felt he brought Warrior to that point, and then took the next step with Warrior to get him over even stronger to the audience. So he felt that he should have been paid equally, if not more, than what the Warrior was making. Now, how anybody knows what anybody else is making, I think a lot of times that's just speculation and hearsay and innuendo, and I wouldn't put it beyond any of the boys to stir that pot. Oh, so-and-so made this, when they never really know or have any clue whatsoever. And I think that a lot of those factors played into Rick leaving and just being fed up to the point where he said, okay, I want to move on.
In real life, Rick Rude and Bobby Heenan were not exactly best of friends. I'm not saying they disliked each other, but it's been written over the years that Rude probably would have preferred to have just been by himself and not with a mouthpiece. He didn't think he needed that. And
that was perpetuated a lot by Warrior, who felt that Bobby in their matches stole their heat and stole their reaction by Bobby doing what Bobby always did, and that was help enhance the match.
I guess my question is, who is sort of Rick Rude's, who can he confide in here and get little big brother advice? Does he have any I mean, it's not like he can call Bob. I mean, I guess he could, but if they're not really close anyway, he's not going to call and say, hey man, what should I do? I mean, does he have any sort of friends in the company to sort of bounce things off of in this era?
Yeah. Kurt Hennig was a friend of his, and Rick had, different friends all over the business, Percy Pringle being one of them. So yeah, Rick would confide in other guys, but Rick was also his own man. Rick was a man's man.
It's just remarkable to think that after such a bright spot in the company, he's not long for this. And it definitely felt like he had tried to recreate himself, to your point, with these training vignettes and the new look and changing his hair and the whole deal. And he gets the main event spot. And I guess it's be careful what you wish for, because he's not with us much longer. I love this show. This is the first SummerSlam I remember watching live. I was so excited for this particular show. It was a big deal of my wrestling fandom as a kid. So this is one of the more important SummerSlams to me. Where do you rank this SummerSlam to you?
Well, again, selfishly, because I was on it, I did love to perform, and being on a pay-per-view still was special at that time. So for me, it ranks up there. And being a part of the Sergeant Slaughter stuff, that was a lot of fun. And so for me, selfishly, yeah, it's up in my top 5, because not only was I a part of it, but there was also some good story in the card, and going through and reminiscing that was a lot of fun.
Scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this one?
Scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, 10 being the best.
I'd say a solid 7.5, 8.
I think so too. I mean, just because of the nostalgia, I don't know, it just takes me back in time. I'm not going to say the quote unquote in-ring work, the matches, but the actual characters and storylines, it was just larger than life. And it is a bit of a departure. This is the second pay-per-view now in WWF history that doesn't end with Hogan must pose. Was that a little weird for you? I mean, Hogan's at least in the last match in the main event of WrestleMania 6. Was it weird to have a pay-per-view? And I know they're both on the poster and featured prominently, both Hogan and Warrior, but is it still a little weird to end a WWF pay-per-view and Hogan's not doing the big pose down?
Believe it or not really. It was different. Definitely different. But, we were looking at times changing and having to do different things. So you just accepted it and moved on.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.